moguls. It's me, Marshall Sylver, your personal millionaire maker. Getting very excited about my brand new show. 2 hours a day, 5 days a week. I'm going to broadcast live to you. In the first hour of the broadcast, I'm going to give you content, information for better sex, more money, emotional, mental, physical, and even spiritual power. I'll also invite some of my cool multi-millionaire and billionaire friends onto the show to give you more direction, more advice, more strategies and gambits for having it all. The second hour is what I'm most excited about. It's when I get a chance to chat with you. Yes, you. Where you can call in, talk to me, ask me questions. And if you say the secret word of the day, you could win $5,000 cash. At the very least, if you're the most interesting call of the day, you could also win 10 ounces of freshly minted Marshall Sylver 999 Fine Silver. All of that and more. Brand new Mercedes-Benz sedan or SUV up for grabs. My personal Rolls-Royce Phantom up for grabs. All the knowledge to get everything you want and so much more. All you got to do is log in to the show to get information about its release coming up. 2 hours a day, 5 days a week, coming to you live from the bunker right here at Studio Money. I'm Marshall Sylver, your personal millionaire maker.
Let me bring in our hypnotist, Marshall Sylver.
It's Marshall Sylver, ladies and gentlemen, the world's fastest hypnotist.
Do you want to be a millionaire? I want you to be one. Hey, welcome home, everybody. It's Marshall Sylver. You are live with me on Marshall Sylver Live. Glad to have you. Life is good. What a beautiful day in Southern California it is. What a glorious day filled with love, health, opportunity, and potential. I am very excited to have you here. I see in the comments, Brandon Rice says, second part of the show used to be the best part. I would agree with you, Brandon. And part of what needs to happen for us to get back to taking your calls and giving away cash and silver bars every single day is you telling your friends all about this show. That's what I'd like to see. I would agree with you. So tell your friends about the show. Let's pump up the numbers and let's get back to giving away boatloads of cash to kind of catch up on what's going on. We're doing a lot here, and I'm going to talk with our guest about some of the stuff that we're doing. We're doing a lot. We are in a phenomenally exciting time where a lot of fortunes are going to be made, unfortunately, because money shifts when fortunes are made. Some people are going to lose money during these times, and that's okay too, because again, it's all motion. Money is hypnosis. It's not real. It's an energy source, and the only value anything has is the value that you give it and that other people agree with you on. If you say something's worth X and they say it's worth Y, guess what? It's worth Y to them. It's worth X to you, but it's worth Y to them. So if you're thinking about selling it, it's worth Y. And I think most people don't understand therein lies both the blessing and the curse. Refinancing some properties lately, pulling some cash back out. And the cost of money is the thing. It's not money, it's the cost of money, and it's the juggling of money. And I was talking to my wife this morning about it, and I was talking about the fact that we're pulling money out of a property. And if you, as an example, let's say you buy a house, and we're going to talk to our guest about this, so stay where you are. We're going to talk to a guest. And if you pull money out of a house, you're going to have to pay for the money. You're going to have to probably pay points. You're probably definitely going to pay a percentage back in interest payments. But if you buy a house for $1 million on a 30-year mortgage and you pay for that house for 15 years, which is where a lot of people find themselves today, that the money you paid in, the 15 years of payments you made on that 30-year loan likely was almost all interest payments. So the bank loans you $1 million or 800,000, whatever they loan you, probably 800,000. You paid $200,000 down to get the property. So now you're paying on the 800,000. The majority of that 800,000 is interest payments. The bank handed you $800,000. So halfway through, they've probably collected about $1 million back. They've probably gotten payments from you for about $1 million, which means you paid them $1 million on their $800,000 loan. You've paid back, and let's say it even gets to the point where you've paid for half the mortgage, meaning there's only $500,000 owed on that loan. They already got back $800,000. So you have $500,000 in equity. They got back $1 million, paid back their $800,000 to $200,000 in profit. You decide you want to leave. Now you got a $500,000 mortgage. You decide, you know what? I don't want to make payments anymore. I'm giving it back to the bank. You give it back to the bank. Well, the bank now has $500,000 in equity on that property above the $800,000 they've already received. They say, you know what? We don't want the house back. We want to sell the $500,000 note to an investor who picks it up for, let's say, 50 cents on the dollar, which isn't unreasonable, even 60 cents on the dollar. They buy that $500,000 note for $300,000. The house is worth $1 million, but they bought the note, the debt, for $300,000 on a piece of property that has $1 million worth of $1 million worth of value, $700,000 in equity. They in turn sell it to another investor for $700,000. The new investor has $300,000 worth of equity, but they sold a note they bought for $300,000 for $400,000 above what they bought it for, $700,000, which means they made more than 100% return on their investment in the note. The money is in the money. That's what I say. To talk about that on today's Marshall Sylver Live, we've got a guest we had on before. It's a reoccurring theme. I like bringing back people that I find fascinating. David Selvin is with us today. He's a distinguished entrepreneur and real estate investor. He's got a massive career marked by remarkable achievements, a steadfast commitment to excellence. He began investing in real estate in 2016. Early on, he recognized the critical importance of a robust financial foundation. So he's dedicated himself to meticulously building his personal and business credit. This strategic approach unlocked creative funding opportunities that were instrumental in advancing his real estate endeavors. Through Selvin Financial, he extends his expertise to the financially ambitious, offering invaluable resources and guidance to those seeking to navigate the complexities of credit, funding, and real estate investing. David's journey and the establishment of Selvin Financial underscore his commitment to not only achieving personal financial success, but also empowering others to realize their financial and real estate aspirations. His story is a powerful testament to the impact of dedication, strategic planning, and an unyielding pursuit of excellence in the real estate industry. David Selvin stands as a beacon of inspiration for anyone aiming to achieve financial prosperity and make a significant mark in the realm of real estate investing. Please welcome to the show with a nice big Marshall Sylver Live welcome in the comments. Say hello to David Selvin.
Hey, Marshall. Good to be here.
Good to see you. I understand you are on the road while you're chatting with me. Where are you calling in from?
I'm in Houston, Texas right now.
And what brings you to Houston, Texas?
Real estate, investing, making money.
So to be more specific, talk to me. What are you looking at there?
So I do a lot of fixing and flipping properties. Houston is a great market for that, as well as doing a lot of creative financing deals. And there's a lot more people here that's open to seller financing versus in California, where they're really, really opposed to that, and the prices are extremely high. Here, $1 million, what it'll get me there in California, I can stretch it among multiple properties. So being the fact that I'm flipping properties, it makes it a lot better out here where, you know, basically it's like playing multiple hands of blackjack instead of putting all your money on one hand of blackjack.
To talk to me about that, because as you may know, my wife and my son, Sterling, are learning about real estate investing right now on their own, unprompted by me. They've said, we want to learn how to do this. And, you know, one of the strategies that their current mentor right now, Andrew Schlegg, is teaching them is clearly you don't need to be in the market you're investing in. So talk to me about how that works. Do you always have to travel to where you're investing? And I really want to
No,
get into what you think is happening in the real estate market today. So let's start with first question. Do you have to be in the market that you're investing in to make an investment?
absolutely not. In fact, I invest in multiple different markets while living in California. The main reason why of me coming here is that this is a new market for me. So being the fact that it's a new market, I want to come out here and shake hands with my team and people that's going to be on my team that I'm developing. And that's the key importance, is that you just need a team. As long as you have a team, you can invest in any market. As long as you have boots on the ground, you have the right people and the right contacts.
Talk to me about the current real estate market. Good, bad, indifferent?
So it depends on perspective. Like you just said, something might be worth Y for somebody, but it might be worth X to you. So for an investor, it's a great market. For sellers, maybe not so much. We're definitely more into a buyer's market, and it also depends on the area. So there are certain areas, there are certain pockets in any city that are always going to be insulated. You know, if you buy, for example, in Houston, River Oaks, there's always going to be a buyer in River Oaks that wants to be in that area because it's an affluent area. In California, one of those areas will be, for example, Danville or Alamo. And those areas in the East Bay, they're very insulated, and people will always buy in those areas because of the schools that they have there, as well as just having that name, just saying that you live in that neighborhood because it's an affluent neighborhood. Yet, overall, for the majority of real estate, the majority of the market, is definitely a buyer's market. Is definitely more deals to be had. More people are starting to become open to creative ideas and creative options because they can't sell because the interest rates are so high right now that it's very hard for people to qualify for a mortgage. People that once qualified, say, for example, for a $500,000 mortgage, now only 2-3 years ago, now only qualified for $250,000 worth of mortgage due to the fact of what that monthly payment is to their debt to income ratio.
I have a very firm belief, in my position as a hypnotist, I like to figure out where is the puck going to. And obviously, COVID and all the scamdemic and the lockdown impacted everybody. Some people figured out ways to work around the process. A lot of people did not. The banks offered most everybody that was in good standing deferred payments. They said, we realize this is a tough time. Don't make your payments now. Obviously, legislation was passed to prevent banks from foreclosing on people's homes when they weren't allowed to go to work or when they had some setback in their income. And so a lot of people deferred all those payments for months and months and months, what amounted to about a year and a half, and got those payments, myself included, put on the back end of our mortgage. Now, myself, I had and have resources. I have money in the bank, I have savings and such. The majority of the population did not and does not. So even though they deferred all those payments, which was very useful to the consumer, that consumer still had to live during that time when they didn't have any income coming in. So they had to eat, they still had to pay their insurance, they still had to pay, their electricity and all the other utilities. And so even though the bank deferred the mortgage, they still went further in the hole during those times. Now, couple that with the fact that a lot of businesses changed, completely changed. Many employers realized they didn't need either the number of employees they didn't need their offices. Sub leases on commercial buildings are at an all-time high. People that are downsizing, just realizing, what, during that time, not only did life go on, our kids grew up, they moved out, we don't need this big a house. So they're walking away from properties at record-setting numbers right now. And a substantial amount of properties are being foreclosed on, given flat out handed back to the banks. The banks don't want people to know how much property is actually on the marketplace, because if they let everybody know how much property had been foreclosed on or was available, then what would happen is all the property's value would be diminished, which means all the assets the bank is holding on to would be diminished. And suddenly they step into what I call the De Beers syndrome. After the diamond mines people. De Beers doesn't release the amount of diamonds that they've mined in any given year because it would put a glut on the market, which would lower the overall value of diamonds in general, which would impact their their bottom line. So the better strategy is to pretend or not make those diamonds available at all, which keeps an inflated value, an unreal value, by the way, because diamonds are just hypnosis. There's no real intrinsic value to that rock sitting on somebody's finger other than they did a really good job in their marketing, making a woman believe the size of the rock is the amount of his love. My point is, though, that I believe that we are going to see an unprecedented amount of foreclosures happening in November. And I had this conversation with somebody yesterday that it doesn't matter who wins the election in November. The shit's hitting the fan in November. And here's why. Let's imagine if it's Biden and Trump in the election, let's imagine Biden wins. Well, Biden has no reason now. It's his last term. And we see this repeatedly on second term presidents. They have no reason to impress anybody. They got nothing to prove. They can't be elected again. So the second term, if it's going to go to crap, is when it's going to go to crap, is in the second term. But let's imagine that Trump gets elected in November. Guess what? Biden has no reason now to pretend like things are going well. In fact, will immediately shift all the blame to anything that goes on in the economy to whoever gets elected other than him. So I think everybody should be bracing ourselves for what's about to happen, not when the new president is installed in January or the old president is reinstalled in January. It's all going to start as it did last time, 4 years ago. It's all going to start in November. What are your thoughts?
I agree with you. Here's the thing is that I also own a credit repair company. So I see the flip side of things. So like you said, a lot of people, they took a major crap and took a major hit during COVID. And I'm seeing that. I'm seeing people up to the wazoo in credit utilization. And that's on the credit cards they still have, not to mention all the credit cards that got charged off because they had to stop paying them. They couldn't afford to pay them, because they wasn't working. Then all of those deferments going on the back end of those mortgages and things like that. Like everything is, you can only put a Band-Aid on something for so long before everything comes to pass. We're seeing it right now with multifamily. A lot of people bought with bridge loans because they were historically cheaper than regular loans. We just looked at a 12-unit building about 2 blocks from where I'm staying here, where they're like saying, hey, take the building, take it on we'll do seller financing, or you could just take it on a master lease and just take the building from us. We'll lease you the entire building to do whatever you want with it. And I'm like, wow. And then I look at their books and I see what's going on. And it's the fact that
it's deferred. Deferred maintenance,
exactly.
deferred management, deferred taxes.
Everything.
They're saying, please take this problem off our hands.
Exactly. And there's a lot of people. We just bought a house from somebody in Warrensburg, Missouri, where she was going through so much trouble. She said, just take over the payments. She gave me the house. Just take over the payments. I do not want to mess up my credit. So we're going to see a lot more of that. We're starting to see a lot more foreclosures hit the wire. And it makes me scratch my head because, like you said, when you look at the media, when I turn on the news and I look at the media, which I tend to not do too often, and when I do, you see them saying the economy's fine, everything is good, everything's upbeat, yet I'm in the trenches and I see what's going on. I see the number of foreclosures that's popping up on the market every single day. So we know what's going on, and I agree with you.
I also, on that note, believe that what we're going to see, and you touched on it just now, what we're going to see is a lot of single family owners downsizing and either moving into rentals, apartments, or at the very least downsizing into a condo. They'll buy the condo and they'll own it, but they're downsizing. So I think a lot of these multifamily opportunities, whether it's condos or complete, condo buildings or apartments, I think those are going to be remarkable. One of the things that's not being talked about, and I obviously didn't preface you or warn you that I was going to chat about this, is I also think we're going to see something similar in commercial real estate. Because what people may not realize is during the lockdowns, what happened was employers that didn't need their employees at the building, all of their employees worked from home. So the lockdown wraps up, all the restrictions are lifted. The employees don't want to go back to work. So I've been looking at sublesses for the last 2 years, and on commercial buildings, and the sublesses on commercial buildings are like all over the place. It's I've never seen it like this before, where there were so many sublesses, people just wanting to get out of their commercial lease because the commercial lease, they didn't need it, they didn't need the space. They've got 30,000 square feet. They got 3 people working out of it because everybody else went home and never came back. They still work for the company, but they didn't come back. And so what I think is going to happen is the commercial leases are all going to go sublet. All the sublessees are going to take over those cheap leases, and then the leases are going to wrap up, and the landlord is going to think, yeah, I've got a building worth this much, but the sublessor is going to say, unless you can match what I was paying for the last 2-3 years, I'm not re-upping my lease. And so in about 2 years from now, we're going to see a glut in the marketplace of way more commercial real estate at substantially less prices than ever. And you're going to see commercial landlords having to dump their properties when they never had to do this historically ever. What do you think about the move from residential to multifamily type properties?
Yeah, we're already seeing that. Commercial has already been in the tank now for years. Well, since COVID, and like you said, people leave. I don't invest commercially into like office buildings and things like that, but I do have friends that do, and they're telling me that they took hits, and other people are coming up with opportunities because they're finding. For example, I have a buddy who buys these commercial buildings that nobody wants, and he'll take it and he'll convert them into. He buys smaller buildings, and he'll convert them into medical space, medical offices, things that people need where somebody has to be there. But like regular buildings, say for example in the Bay Area, majority of those buildings were owned by tech companies, and now all these tech guys are working from home. And like you said, the company says, well, we could save a ton of money by breaking this lease. We don't need this. We're saving millions. So because of that, and now these people are also leaving San Francisco saying, wait, I can live for what I live in San Francisco. I can live like a king out here in the Midwest or in the
Or
South,
Texas or Florida.
Texas, exactly, Florida, and they're like, we're going out here and we're going to live really great, So that's what we're seeing on the commercial, and then on the multifamily, it's starting to happen now. We're starting to see where people that bought wrong. See, in real estate, you make your money when you buy. A lot of people buy and they speculate and they say, okay, we're going to buy now and hope that it go up if we do this and do that. You have to buy right. You can't buy off what's called pro forma numbers or projections. And a lot of people buy off projections or pro forma numbers. You need to buy off actual numbers. And so a lot of people were doing that in the hopes of refinancing. Yet then when they change the rates, now they can't refinance and they're stuck. And so now they're letting these properties go. They're giving them back to the banks, or they're just letting them go dirt cheap, or they're trying to do seller financing or any other kind of means of just getting rid of the property.
Tell me about the types of investments you make. You talked about the fact that you got a lot of people right now that are in their properties, and you mentioned the woman that says, look, please just take the property. I just don't want to ruin my credit. Just take overpayments, receive the equity, just cover all of that. Tell me what's happening in the marketplace, and do you think that for people that want to do owner financing or something similar to that, do you think there's opportunities right now? Can you hear me? Hello, hello, hello.
I'm sorry, you broke up a little bit. Marshall, you broke up a little bit. Can you hear me?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
So what I was asking is, what do you think about the opportunities for owner financing right now? It seems to me that's kind of how the wave goes. It goes from, regular real estate transactions to people get in trouble. Then they say, okay, I can't sell the property. So how about I just carry some of the paper or get creative, to the point where people then just give up the properties altogether. They all go back to the bank, and then people are learning how to negotiate with banks and short sale properties. Where do you think the opportunities are in the current real estate market? Are you with me, or did we lose you again?
Well, there's definitely opportunity. Oh, I can hear you just fine. We're definitely seeing opportunities in the real estate market with seller financing, owner financing, and creative financing deals. I'm starting to buy a lot more properties like that myself. And even right now, I was actually looking at houses for myself to purchase, and I'm going to do it with owner financing because the rate's going to be a lot cheaper. I have owners that's willing to give me a 4% interest rate versus a 7% with the banks right now. So it makes more sense to do it that way. And they're also starting to see, well, hey, I'm going to make more money in the long run by doing this because of the interest. So it's a win-win. It's a win for me. It's a win for them. And it's a creative way to get the deals done. And I think you're going to start seeing a lot more of that because there's going to be a lot more sellers that are going to start to get a lot more desperate as properties sit on the market a lot longer. The days on the market are starting to slow up in certain cities, and people are going to see that, and then they're going to want to start thinking of other ways, and they're going to need people like us, investors like us, who know how to do these outside of the box type of creative deals. And most people don't know how to do that.
Why don't most people know how to do that? Why don't most people have a better education in real estate investing in general?
Well, sometimes people think with their other head, if you know what I mean. A lot of people are scared to get educated, or I feel like a lot of people, they look at education as a scam, or seminars and things like that as a scam, and they're scared to get educated. And that's what it's about. It's about being educated. I have a saying, when you're green, you're growing. When you're ripe, you're rotten. So you want to stay green because knowledge is infinite. You can never stop learning, and that's why I'm constantly teaching, because when I teach, I also learn at the same time. I'm constantly keep a mentor. I have multiple mentors, you being one of them, and I constantly keep a mentor because I'm constantly growing. If you're not growing, you're dying. Nothing stays the same. So I think that's the biggest thing, is that people are just stuck in their ways. I was talking with a guy last night, networking with a developer last night, and the strategies he's telling me, it was just cookie cutter strategies. And I started telling him about things I'm doing, or things how I'm buying with credit cards and things like that. Like this huge book of credit cards, I buy properties with these. And I was telling him how I'm doing this, and he was looking at me like I was lying through my teeth, because he couldn't fathom that idea. He couldn't understand about thinking outside the box. And part of that is just a lot to do with mindset.
How many credit cards do you have?
Total, I have about 80 credit cards right now. In this booklet is probably about 35 in here.
Show me.
Let's see. Let me get. Oh, there's the camera. Okay.
There he is.
I'm on my iPad, so the camera's a little wonky. So
No, that's impressive, man.
Yeah.
And
So
how much credit line do those credit cards represent?
This booklet right here represents right around, I would say this booklet right here is right around $800,000 in credit.
Isn't that remarkable? It's
It
remarkable.
It is. And I brought it because I was actually bidding at an auction yesterday, and they said, well, you got to pay for everything as soon as we're done. I was like, no problem. And what I would do is just transfer. I have a way to transfer that into cash and have that cash come right into the bank. And so I was ready to go. But I didn't win. I didn't win the auction. Somebody overpaid.
So talk to me about the process that people go through. Obviously, you have two very specific types of business you do. One is real estate, and the other is credit. On the real estate side of things, not only are you an active investor, you walk the talk, you practice what you preach, you also teach people how to invest in real estate. And then on the credit side, you teach people how to fix damaged credit, and then also how to expand their credit, how to have more credit available to them. What's the average credit score in America right now?
The average right now is low sixes, high fives, believe it or not. It's very, very low.
And when someone comes to you and says, look, David, I got hit during the lockdowns. My credit is not what it used to be. I've got a 600 credit score. How can you help me? What do you do for someone like that?
The first thing we're going to do is we're going to have you pull your credit report, right? Because we need to see everything that's derogatory, that's reporting derogatory on your credit report. Then we're going to go through all of those items and we're going to start disputing those items. Now, how do we dispute them? You know, we don't just say, hey, this is not mine, it's fraud, things like that. That's what a lot of companies do. And for one, if it is fraud, that's one thing. But if it's not fraud, that's illegal. And the second thing we do is we use the laws in our favor. So, for example, if it's reporting the wrong way, if it's the wrong amount, if it's the wrong date, you know, so they have to validate everything. So the first step is we ask them to validate the debt, right? And they have to validate that debt. Now, they have 30 days to come back and say, hey, it's validated. If they don't come back and they don't show any proof that this debt is yours, then it's wiped clean. Then the next thing we do is start going and strategically looking exactly how that debt is reporting. And we also look at the debt time clock. So a lot of people think that, you know, the debt is supposed to be on your credit report for 7 years, right? But every state has its own debt time clock. So, for example, in most states, it's 4 years. In California, it's 4 years. And Nevada is 4 years. So if it's 4 years that it's supposed to be reporting, if it's past those 4 years, it's an automatic deletion. So we get a lot of items deleted using the laws in our favor. The challenge is that, like, a lot of people, they go online and they download these like credit letters to dispute with the credit bureaus. And what they're doing is they're getting stuck because the credit bureaus have a system called eOscar, and it checks for algorithm on all the letters coming in. So if everybody's sending the same letters, the same cookie cut letters, it catches it. And they're just going to send you back what's called a stall letter and saying, hey, you know, it's something. They say something along the words of like, we applaud you on striving to better your credit, yet this is what's going on. We see you're using this, so we're not going to delete it off your credit report. And that's where a lot of people get stuck. And that's where we come in and do what's right and get it off the report.
Well, because the credit companies at the base of it all are people. And so they don't want to deal with it. So if someone sends that computer generated letter, then they get a computer generated letter in return because it didn't take any effort by the credit bureau. Exactly. But when somebody then calls either themselves or has somebody call on their behalf, that's up a notch. So now the credit bureau or the person reporting the debt now is faced with the decision: do we just let it go? You know, forget it. We don't want to deal with this. Thanks for calling. Appreciate it. Goodbye. Click. We're removing it. Or do they like the battle? They don't like the battle, do they? They don't want to deal with it.
They don't like the battle. And that's the thing is, like I said, they got to operate within the realm of the law. And they always violate that law, especially collection companies, collection agencies. They're the worst. And
well, because they bought the debt.
Exactly. They bought the debt on pennies on the dollar. And it's a roll of the dice of whether they're going to get any money from that debt. So they do whatever it takes to get the money for that debt. Even, you know, that's why they'll say, like, you owe $10,000. They'll say, hey, we'll take $3,000 and settle this right now. And a lot of people says, wow, this is a great deal. I'll pay $3,000. I don't have to worry about them coming after me for that $10,000. Yet they bought that debt from another creditor
for $500.
For pennies on the dollar. And technically, you don't owe them any money. You owe that creditor. So you got to look at the fine print and even seeing if that was even a assignable
transferable debt. Right.
Exactly. And so then what happens is you pay it, and then now thinking you're going to have good credit, but now you still have the collection on your report, but it's reporting as paid in full. So it still looks as a collection. So the only time I recommend for a person to pay their collections or any debt like that is if you get a pay per delete letter. You should be getting a letter that says, hey, we're going to remove this from your credit profile once you pay it. And if they're not willing to do that, do not pay it because you're wasting your money.
How much of your credit repair that you do for your consumers, your customers, is debt reduction negotiation?
Zero. We get it all deleted. We don't negotiate that debt down at all. We get it removed from their credit profile. Now, keep in mind, if we get it removed from their credit profile on the way it's reporting because they have to follow certain laws, yet they still can be responsible for repayment of that debt. So, for example, American Express is notorious for this. We'll get it removed from the credit profile so the credit score could go up so they could start acquiring more credit, acquiring new credit. Yet American Express could come after them with a lawsuit saying, hey, you still owe me $100,000. I want my money. And that's a whole different story.
What's your greatest success story of a student that you've worked with?
My greatest success, can I tell two? I have two actually.
Yes. Tell the second one first.
Okay, the second one first. Student bought a house for $550,000 and it's worth 1.9 million. And here's the catch. This is the greatest part of the success story. He was going to make $600,000 profit after all the repairs and everything. He didn't listen to anything I told him to do. So he didn't make the 600. He decided just to sell as is without doing anything, without lifting a finger on the property, and still made over 100K profit.
Lovely. That's great.
My next success story is a gentleman who he's a multifamily syndicator, and I helped him acquire $300,000 in unsecured business credit cards and business funding. And now he uses that to get himself into the deals as a general partner into the deal. So the way those syndications work is, they usually have one person who knows all the people with the money and they can help raise the money. You have another person who is the sponsor, who's the high net worth, has the experience, and you might have somebody else who brought the deal to the table. Well, he's the guy coming in saying, hey, we have a lot of soft costs before we could even legally raise the money, because all this is governed by the SEC. So before he can even legally raise the money, we have to hire the SEC attorney. That costs a lot of money. We have to put up our earnest money deposit. That's usually 6 figures. We have to do all our inspections, due diligence. So these are all soft costs before you even close and recoup any of that money back. So he takes his credit and he says, hey, I have all the money for the soft costs. Just make me a partner in your deal. So he doesn't have to look for any deals. He doesn't have to raise any money, anything. And then he uses it short term for 3 months, 3 to 6 months until they close. And then when they close, he gets all that money back, pays back the credit cards, collects his acquisition fee. Now he's a part of the deal, gets the cash flow every month, and gets the equity off the back end when he sells. So I thought that was pretty cool.
So he's acting as a general partner to the other limited partners.
Exactly. Where the limited partners come in are the ones raising the money, and then the general partner, he's on that general partner team with the other real estate investors who found the deal and ran the numbers and things like that.
So he's managing the deal, and the limited partners are just putting in the cash.
Cash, exactly. They're hands off.
Yes. What are you most proud of? I mean, all things considered, what are you most proud of in your life?
My children. My children. I'm grateful to.
So your one son just graduated from what, elementary?
Middle school. He's going
junior
into
high.
Yeah, exactly. He's going into high school, and so I'm super proud of him, because I think back when I was that age and where I was at in life, and he's 1,000 times better, and that's just priceless to me.
And how old is your boy?
14.
So my son Sterling is 13, and obviously you've met Sterling. You know Sterling. He is headed to church camp next week, and I don't know about other parents. I'm weird. This is his first multiple. He's going to be gone the whole week, and Dad's here going, man, this sucks on so many levels. Yeah, I'm happy for you, and I want you to grow up, and I want you to have this amazing life. But I also, one part of me, wants them to never grow up. Wants them to always be my little children. How does that feel? Because I know, obviously, what's the range in your kids?
Yeah, so my oldest is 25. My wife got pregnant when we were 17, so she's 25. My younger daughter, Qualisha, who you've met as well, she's 21. And then my son's the baby. He's 14. And I feel you on that, because right now, this past week, that's why we came out here, because this past week, he took off to D.C. and New York with his school for their little class trip. And I've been missing him every single day. We're texting each other, I'm sending him pictures of Houston, like, look at this cool thing. And he's sending me pictures of New York and DC. And, we're just, we can't wait to unite. As soon as we fly back, I fly in a day early just in case my plane gets late. Unfortunately, I'm not flying private like you, Marshall. So my flight might get delayed. And so I fly in a day early just to make sure I'm there. As soon as he flies back, I'm there for him. I don't want nobody else to greet him but me.
What do you do? What do you do as a dad to instill entrepreneurial intellect inside of your kids?
I'm very open with my children. I think that's the biggest thing is I feel like a lot of people, I watch my children compared to like some of my neighbors and some of their schoolmates and things like that. And I feel like my children are very advanced. And I feel that's partially due to the fact that I'm very open. I talk openly about business with them. We have open discussions about credit, finances, things like that. My oldest daughter is my business partner on the real estate side of the business, and she's 25 years old. And that's just part of me just taking her under my wing and saying, hey, let me show you how to do this, and her being open to learning. And everybody learns at their own time. I mean, there was a time I was trying to do that with her, and she was like, no, I don't want to do that. No, I don't want to work with you. And then she came around and started learning it, and I gave her the knowledge to where, you know, if anything happens to me, she'll be set, you know. And I do the same with all my children. Teach them about finances, teach them about credit and how it all works. And part of that's just having family discussions. We play board games like Cash Flow is a fun game that we play from Robert Kiyosaki. We play that game on a regular basis with my family. And Monopoly, although Monopoly and my family gets a little violent sometimes. Because we don't play Monopoly traditionally. What we'll do is, you know, we have our rules kind of like it's really real estate investing. So somebody will get a property and they'll say, I'll wholesale this property to you for a wholesale fee. And and then they'll start fighting over the wholesale fee, and then we got to end the game. So a little fun
That's
things
funny.
like that. Yeah, we have a great time.
Where do you think the economy is going? What should people be paying attention to right now?
It's a great question. I feel like watch what the banks are doing. Watch what the big investors are doing when it comes to real estate. So I mainly track real estate and credit, right, and funding and money. And when it comes to that, watch what products the banks are putting out. Watch what they're doing, because those are going to be signs of what's going on. I knew before a year before the pandemic happened, I had these huge lines with Wells Fargo, and they pulled my credit line. They were unsecured lines. If I wanted to go to the Rolls Royce dealer and buy a Phantom, I could do it. But they were unsecured lines, and they pulled them from me a year prior to COVID happening. And I was asking them, like, hey, what the heck is going on? And they said, one of the guys at the bank that I became really close friends with, he said, we're preparing for an economic meltdown. I said, what? I said, that's crazy. So we feel that you're over leveraged, because I was using a lot of lines of credit with them. And they said, we feel you're over leveraged. And a year later, COVID hit. So these banks know what's going to happen before it happens. Like you said, scam, demic. They know what's going on. It's not just something that just happens and now we're all stuck. They're prepared for this stuff. And so I feel like just watch what products they're putting out, watch what they're doing, and you'll see what's going on. And also, you know, a lot of times stuff that's going on in the news is just smoke screens for what's really going on and what they're really doing. And then in the real estate market, I'm watching huge companies like Blackstone, for example. You know, instead of buying up huge apartment buildings or developing huge apartment buildings, they're creating housing communities with houses that are all rentals. I just seen one here in Houston where it's about 2,000 homes and they're all rental properties. They're not selling off any of them. So what does that tell you? You know, that they're preparing for more people to rent than buy. So, yeah.
Without a doubt. And, you know, where besides real estate are you putting your money?
So right now, I put all my money into real estate and into businesses. Other than that, I don't really put much money into. I do buy gold. I buy pure, like something like this. It's pure 24 karat gold. It holds its value. This is actually, believe it or not, one of my best investments. I bought it for $6,000. It's probably worth about $18,000 right now. So like little things like that, I put my money towards crypto, Bitcoin. Although I'm not a big believer in it, so I might actually be pulling some money out of that. But that's pretty much it. I'm a big believer in real estate.
Awesome. Hey, where can people find out more about you?
Go to my website, selvinfinancial.com. We also have an event coming up where I'm showing people how to take these credit cards and turn it into real estate. And you can check that out at selvinfinancialre.com. You could also follow me on any social media platform as Mr. Prosperity. So that's at Mr._Prosperity_. You can check me out.
Awesome, man. Hey, any final things you want to say before we wrap up today's show?
Well, I just want to say I'm super grateful for you. I'm blessed to have met you. I'm blessed that we crossed paths. And, also, I do want to tell you that you look like you slimmed down a little bit. So
yeah, I'm healthier.
Doing it.
Yeah, I'm telling you, giving up alcohol almost a year now. I think it's 338 days. I think it was 337 yesterday.
Wow.
And then I have almost eliminated sugar, not completely. I still do like my occasional dessert, but pretty much eliminated sugar as well. So yeah, life is good. I'm a happy man. I just got word. You're good luck. I got word while we were talking that a deal I've been negotiating for a commercial building for our new home for Studio Money was just confirmed while the show was going on. So
Nice.
that's phenomenal news. I'm very excited. You're my good luck charm. I want to come rub your belly. So give your bride and any of your family that's with you my love. Thanks so much for being on the show. It's always a pleasure to have you as a guest, and I look forward to seeing you soon.
Thank you, Marshall. Thank you for having me.
Take care, my friend. Hey, life is so good. Things are happening right now. Things are moving, and you're either going to play catch up or you're going to be the one in the lead where everybody else is playing catch up. And I encourage you to be the person in the lead. Otherwise, the view never changes. I'm Marshall Sylver. You're totally loved. This is another edition of Marshall Sylver Live. I'll see you very soon. Bye for now. Hey there, moguls. It's me, Marshall Sylver, your personal millionaire maker. Getting very excited about my brand new show coming up 2 hours a day, 5 days a week. I'm going to broadcast live to you. I'm going to give you content, information, emotional, mental, physical, and even spiritual power. I'll also invite some of my cool multi-millionaire and billionaire friends onto the show to give you more direction, more advice for having it all. All the knowledge to get everything you want and so much more. All you got to do is log in to the show to get information coming to you live from the bunker right here at Studio Money. So stay tuned.